It's the 25th of June as we sail across from the Outer Hebrides to the Isle of Skye. We set off early as strong winds are forecast in the afternoon, and we enjoy the 15 knots of wind and boat speeds of 7 knots. We picked up one of the visitor mooring buoys, which are run by the local community for visiting yachts, and they also have a pontoon where we could tie up the dinghy, making it easy to get to shore. The stone looks as if it comes from the Stone Age, but actually was placed at the turn of the millennium to celebrate by the community. With strong winds forecast in the coming days, we decided to move on and explore somewhere new. We had a very lively sail around the top of the Isle of Skye and headed across to the mainland to a small village called Badachro. With the winds forecast to increase even more than we had sailing that day, we had chosen Badachro because the shelter there would be good. So it was very reassuring when we arrived that we were able to pick up the last visitor mooring buoy, so we knew we could tuck in safely for the next few days. The first time we went to shore, we tied up at the ladder on the quay. The next time when we went to shore, we were staying for a little bit longer, and as the tide was going out, we thought it best to try out the dinghy dock. So while the winds were blowing over 30 knots, we just took it easy and enjoyed the walks around Badachro. An interesting dinghy dock, one that we've not seen before. Maybe it would have been easier to tie up to the ladder instead. There were big tides here, and it was interesting to watch at low tide and high tide how it changed our surroundings. The next day the sun was shining, so we thought we'd give the dinghy dock another go and head off again for another walk. It was so interesting to see the dinghy dock at high tide and low tide and how different it was. After 3 nights in Badachro, we left on a wet but slightly less windy day and sailed to an anchorage in Loch Torridon to hopefully enjoy some time at anchor in more settled conditions. Found a lovely place to anchor in between the island and the mainland, but it was wet and everything was covered in cloud. But what a difference a day makes. The next morning we woke up to beautiful sunshine and spectacular views. We love a good bench and we enjoyed our picnic and the views of Loch Torridon. We didn't think the view could get any better, but the next morning the reflections on the water were simply stunning. We had seen on Google Maps that there was a waterfall nearby, so we set off to see what we could find. And then just like that, the weather changed and it was wet and overcast once again. So hoods up, and we decided to sail on. As we sailed the inner sound, we were radioed by Ranger Control and asked to keep 1 mile off the west coast as there were operations taking place above and below the water. This meant lots of short tacks for us. We arrived in Plockton in the pouring rain and were pleased to be able to pick up one of the few remaining visitor mooring buoys. As with strong winds of over 30 knots forecast yet again, we knew we might be here a couple of days. In between rain showers, we managed to get to shore and take a look around. We waited for the weather to improve before heading off once again, but this time it needed careful planning to get the tides right as we sailed under Skye Bridge. With a height clearance of 29 metres, we had nothing to worry about this time. We stopped for a night at anchor at the Isle of Skye before a quick stop at Malay to top up the water tanks and fill up the fridge with some fresh food before heading out to see Scotland's smaller isles. But more about that in the next video.